This is the EOS 750D, a 7-year-old DSLR released in 2015, equipped with a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor, an integrated flash, Wi-Fi, NFC, a touch and a flip screen. It has a lot of the modern features which cameras nowadays have. I own this camera since 2017. Since I got it 5 years ago, I gathered a lot of experience with that camera, like the pros, the contrast, what did I like and what not so much. Here I'm gonna include a few sample pictures so you can see how they look like for yourself. So let's start with a few specs. Like mentioned previously, it has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor. It can shoot up to 5 frames per second in RAW and in JPEG. In RAW, the camera has only a buffer size of 8 RAWs at the time. It's also equipped with a 19-zone autofocus, a maximum ISO of 25,600. With that high of an ISO, the final picture is going to be really grainy and really noisy, so it's not that usable anyway, so I don't really care about that. The shutter speed ranges from bulb for really long exposures to 1/4000th of a second. Now let's continue with my experience with the mentioned camera. The year I got it, I had a battery problem where the camera seemed to drain the battery, so I filed in a warranty claim to get it fixed. Since then, it looks like that the problem got solved. The microphone jack has also a static issue when you're recording with an external microphone. I don't use this camera for video, so it doesn't bother me that much. And now on to the last issue. When the camera is switched to video mode or remote controlled with the app, the kit lens is making a clicking noise. If you switch back to picture mode, it's gone. In video mode, turning off the autofocus helps, but not when you control it with the app. So when you're recording a video, you can hear this constant annoying clicking noise on the audio track. Even if you don't care about the kit lens, I still would like to mention it here. I did some research and I didn't find any other cases about this subject. If we take aside all those issues, the camera still works flawlessly. With one battery you can expect around 400 shots in viewfinder mode and 350 in live view because you're using the screen. The EOS 750D comes also with app support. The app is called Camera Connect. It enables you to adjust your camera wirelessly. To use your external device as an external monitor, if you have a tablet, it's going to be a really big screen, making bold, long exposures without the need to keep your finger on the shutter button. You can also download pictures from your camera, but only in JPEG. RAWs are going to be compressed and converted to JPEG. The autofocus works fine in viewfinder mode, but when you're switching to live view, it feels less responsive, less snappy, and loses a bit in precision in my opinion. The camera supports touch to focus, so most of the time it works fine. What I really like about this camera is the ease of use. Most of the buttons are nicely placed. They have also a different shape to them, so it makes them easy to feel in the dark. They control regularly used functions like the white balance, the autofocus. One is there to switch between the shutter speed and the aperture in manual mode. Canon cameras have also the useful Q button that enables you additional settings on the screen, so you can unlock them. On the top we have the autofocus point selector. One button only turns off the display to shoot at night, and one for the ISO. With this camera I would not go above ISO 3200 if it's not necessary. Here's a comparison between the different ISO values. Let's start with the base value. ISO 100 is the base value, so this is where you're going to get the least amount of noise. Even if we zoom into the picture, we can't really see noise. If we take a look at the night picture, we can see that the picture has less details than during the day. With ISO 200, the amount of noise is also really low. So here you're going to get also a high amount of details. On the night shot we can see that there is a bit more noise than with ISO 100, but it's still almost noise free. If we go up a step, we're going to end up with ISO 400. Here the result is still really good. If you start to pixel peak or zoom into the picture, we can see that we start to see more noise. Now let's turn off the lights, and here we can see that we have more noise, but it's still pretty good if we consider the difference in brightness. With ISO 800, the amount of noise increases. You don't need to zoom into the picture that much to see it. But it's still nice and usable. With less light we can see that the noise picks up compared to the day shot. Now let's jump to ISO 1600. With ISO 1600 we can see that we lost some details in the grass and on the trees. You don't need to zoom into the picture that much to see it. If we turn off the lights, the amount of noise increases by a significant amount compared to the day shot. Some details are left, but not many. Now I would not go above this value. With ISO 3200 the picture is already pretty soft and a lot of details are lost. The noise is already visible with only a 30% magnification. With bright sunlight I would not go that high anyway. On the night picture the noise picks up and we lose more details. Now we enter the high ISO values. With ISO 6400 the picture is really soft and really noisy. Most of the details are gone. On the night shot we can see that we have even more noise on the picture and most of the details are gone. The amount of color artifacts has increased as well. ISO 12800 is bad when it comes to noise and details. The picture quality is pretty low. Shooting in a darker environment doesn't make things easier. When we look at the grass, we can roughly see the shapes of the grass blades. Use this one only in extreme conditions. In the settings you can extend the ISO to 25600. Compared to the lower values, this one isn't native. What does it mean? It means that the camera uses only software to make the picture brighter, so it's basically dragging up the brightness slider in Lightroom. This one has the worst quality of them all. All the details are gone. The amount of color artifacts is also really high. If we switch to the night picture, the end result is even worse. This one isn't usable in most of the cases. Don't be afraid to use a higher ISO. It's better to have a grainy picture rather than a blurry one, trust me. On the side of the lens mount of the 750D, there's a really useful button that not many people know the use of. It's called the depth of field preview button. When pressed, you can preview the aperture and the depth of field before taking a picture. After 5 years of use, I can still recommend this camera. EF lenses and EFS lenses, EF full frame and EFS are the APS-C lenses, are really common, so it's really easy to find glass for it. So if you're on the look for a new shooter, this is an awesome choice. It has a lot of features as you have seen. You can pick up one for less than $500. If this is still too much for you, I have a playlist of my channel about DSLRs from $500 to as cheap as $100. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to share this video with someone who's looking for a new shooter. A subscription would be shooting. See you in the next one and take care of yourself.